Thanks for joining us tonight, everyone. This is J.R. Colby, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Michael Doyle.
Yes.
Alicia Greco.
Yes.
Jerry Heavey.
Yes, here.
Jeff Walker.
Yes.
Okay, staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tracy Blaze, Town Administrator.
Here.
Julie O'Brien, Executive Administrator.
Yes.
Martha Taylor, Planning Director.
Here.
Chief Michael Riley, Emergency Management Director.
Here.
And Mark Leckman, Human Resources Board Chair. I see Mark, but he's muted.
Here.
Okay, I heard you loud and clear, Mark. Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Tommy Volpone.
Here.
Okay, loud and clear. Good evening. This open meeting of the Board of Selectmen is being conducted virtually, consistent with Executive Order of March 12th, 2020, and the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. To mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings accessible physical location. The order you can find posted on the town's website allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded. We're getting an echo. If anyone that's not muted can mute themselves. Thank you. The order which you can find posted on the town's website allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Public access does not, however, ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment as it is not a public hearing. For this, the Newbury Board of Selectmen is convening by Zoom meeting link as posted on the agenda on the town's website. Materials for this meeting, except any executive session materials, are available on the website, and we recommend the members and the public follow the agenda as posted on the website. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. As I conclude their remarks, I will go down the line with board members, invite by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Please wait until the chair yields the floor to you, and be sure to state your name before speaking. If members want to engage in dialogue with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. I signed the PR 20-25 for the board. I signed the PR 20-25 and 20-26 for Ellen Jameson. Signed the PR 20-26 for Julie O'Brien. VW 20-26 for Minuteman Press. VW 20-27 for Minuteman Press. PR 20-27 and 2101 for Ellen Jameson. 20-27 and 21-01 for Julie O'Brien. Under grants, gifts, and donations, we have a donation from Alfred and Sandra Bellows to the Newbury Police Department. Is there a motion to accept?
Move to accept.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jeffrey Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavey,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. We also have a vote to accept the World War II donation from Robert Partridge. Is there a motion?
Move to accept.
Second.
Roll call vote. Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jeffrey Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
okay, and J.R. Colby, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alicia.
may I make a suggestion, or can I make a motion that we send a note of thanks to these two folks for donating to us?
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call vote. Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jeffrey Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes,
J.R. Colby, yes. So, good.
thank you.
JR, while we're on that subject, did we ever make a motion to send Doug a note for his years of service to the town?
I don't believe so. Anyone correct me, and that's a good thought too. Does anyone recall doing it? I know I've talked about it, but I can't.
I don't
So-
recall moving that.
I'd entertain a motion. Doug, Doug Packer did a difficult job for a long time in this town. He was here in the old days, right through the transition into the new days. From the days of, mechanical engineering tools into computers. Doug was very approachable, has done a wonderful job for this town, and I'm thankful that we had him as long as we did. So I would entertain a motion.
A motion to send a note to Doug Packer recognizing his service to the town.
Second that.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Jeffrey Walker,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes,
J.R. Colby, yes. All right, thank you, Doug. Okay, moving on. It's farther down the list, just the way things shuffled out, but I'd like to start out with reorganizing the board. We always do this following the election. And I just want to, before we do that, I want to welcome Jerry Heavy, our newest board member. She brings some experience with her from another community. She also has experience in the legal system, and I think she can bring a lot to the table here. So warm welcome to you, Jerry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to say some brief words about Damon Jespersen, multi-term selectman who just departed. I really came to respect Damon as a person and his intelligence. I always admired Damon's ability to be objective no matter what. He could put the aside, he could put the white noise aside and be objective about any situation, whether it was a pleasurable one or a dreadful one. And another thing I'll always appreciate about working with Damon, I could ask him his opinion about something and he would give me a dead honest opinion, even if it hurt my feelings. So that's a funny thing to thank somebody for. But I always appreciated it. Just a great person to bounce something off of, down to earth, realistic guy. And when I was new, he was second up from me in terms of years on the board, and he, will help getting up to speed and learning how things work. That's kind of how it goes in this job if you haven't done it in another community before. And he really helped me along, and I wouldn't be nearly as effective at the job as successful if I didn't spend that time and have that guidance from Damon Jespersen. And I want to say thanks, Damon, for that. We will-
Mr. Chairman, he's also very much dedicated to public service, loves the town of Newbury, wanted to bring it, what's best for the town. I don't think we've seen the end of him. He'll continue to volunteer in some capacity, I hope. The Newbury will be better for it.
I think Damon, on my right side when I was chair, had more corrections than, than anyone I knew. He was sharp. He was good.
Okay, we'll move on to reorganization. I will let kick it off.
I would make a motion, if I could, Mr. Chair, that the chair that is existing remains chair. I make a motion, especially during these times, that J.R. Colby remains as chair.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Point of
Now, discussion.
request for information for discussion.
Yes.
Tell me, are you going to allow in the future public participation at our Board of Selectmen's meetings?
I
Or
plan
will
to,
we will we continue to have police presence? No offense, Chief Riley.
police presence. What do you mean by
Well-
police presence?
Well, on several occasions, there were police standing in the room to escort people out.
Yeah, I mean, at times, police officers may be present or they may not be present depending on the climate and what's going on. I don't plan on banning any of our officers from the meeting room, that's for sure. And going forward, as we return to a sense of normalcy, hopefully shortly in this fall here, I do anticipate, I mean, it might not be up to me, but I would anticipate getting back to normal, back to the way we used to do.
And that's with public participation, because you haven't allowed it for a long time.
Well, that's because of COVID too.
He was
Right.
waiting for
Right.
COVID.
Prior to that, people haven't been allowed to communicate and express their points of view at meetings.
Can you give me an example?
Yes, if anyone said anything, they were removed, like Fred Thurlow
From,
from a meeting.
right, and that was a matter of the Board of Selectmen, which I'm not gonna
Right.
drop again. We all know what the circumstances around that were.
We do. But to have somebody escorted from a public meeting is quite frankly, I think, un-American, and these people pay their taxes. They have a right to speak. So for that reason, I cannot support you, Mr. Colby. In fact, since those nominations are still open, I nominate Alicia Greco for chair.
I second that nomination.
I think we have a motion on the floor in a second.
Yes, and you have another one. You have two nominees.
So was this part of the discussion of the motion on the floor?
It's part of, yes, it is.
Yeah, I think, just to follow up on your comments, I know you're from the court system. I don't think it would be normal for people in the audience to disrupt proceedings. And there are certain times during public hearings and operations of the Board of Selectmen that open interactions from the audience at all times aren't necessarily appropriate. And I adhere to Robert's rules. I try to run an orderly meeting, and that is how I do it and how I intend to do it. Mr. Thurlow got a warning that night, and he kept he insisted on interrupting. But here again, I want to move on. I don't want to delve into the.
Okay, I'm not talking about people interrupting. I'm talking about setting aside some time for the public to address the issues that are on the agenda so people can speak. They're interested enough to come to our meetings when we return after COVID, then I think they have the right to address the board directly. That is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I fully agree. Once we get out of the Zoom world, to go back to the way it was. I don't look at this as permanent.
Well,
Any other comments from the board?
So that's, I don't agree with the chairmanship for a couple of reasons. Number one, other towns rotate the chair. We've had it for 2 years. It's time to let somebody else get their boots wet, okay, as being a chair. It's in a very important position. I've had nothing but trouble getting things on agendas because you do not answer your phone. And you said that, but you don't know if I've called because you don't have a messenger. Okay? Number two is I've
Mike,
emailed
I
you.
never
Hold-
once
I'm not done.
refused
I'm not
agenda
done.
item. You're not
Let me-
speaking the truth.
I'm not,
Finish.
I will show you my I will show you my email list. How many times I've sent emails and I get a response, maybe 1 out of 6. Okay? And also the anger issue. You have been angry at me. You have been angry at me before a selectman. You were angry at my wife. You were angry at Fred Thurlow. It's like, I will not put up with the senior citizens of this town being yelled at by the chairman of the board. Period. So I will not support you either.
Alicia, would you like to chime in?
Oh, go ahead, Alicia.
I see value in vice chairing for a time being rather than chairing. As far as having a citizen's concerns come back once we're out of COVID in these Zoom meetings. I think that's essential. I think we need to have, but it can't go back to the way it was before. I would like to see a spot on the agenda for citizens' concerns. I think it needs to be limited to what's on the agenda. You can't be discussing anything that they so choose, because that's a violation of open meeting laws, that if it's not posted to the general public, that we really cannot be discussing it. If it's something that is not on the agenda and they want to bring it up and ask that it be placed on the agenda, that's one thing. We can place it on the agenda and then discuss it at our next meeting. I do want to limit the amount of time that is given, the similar to how the Triton Regional School District does it and other towns around us, 2 to 3 minutes maximum. But I think that's important that we do that, set those parameters and bring back. I think the coffee, not the coffee hours, but the citizens concern, our meetings on Saturdays, one Saturday a month, is useful. I did have my 1 hour back in June, and no one attended. Leslie Matthews showed up 20 minutes late into the meeting, not really late because it's, it's come and you go, but I popped into the meeting and Leslie was there and she said that she didn't really have any concerns. So I think that we do have a vehicle and people can always call us in the office and email us, but I hear what you're saying, Jerry. I think that there needs to be a spot on the agenda.
Yeah, other committees do it.
Correct.
Um,
Not during COVID.
The reason.
Okay, we have a motion on the
that I made a
table.
Motion for JR to be chair is it's during kind of a time that takes some getting used to. He's been in the position during this COVID period of time. I think I was chair for 3 years. 3 years is probably a good period of time to get to up and running and knowing all the things you need to know. Alicia would probably make a great vice chair and then go on to be chair, so if she so chooses. But continuity during these times, for me anyway, was one of the main reasons. These are serious times. We're going to have different things going on in the town and different things in the world. And, just keeping moving in the same direction is going to take a lot of effort.
And another thing that sticks out to me is that we're not able to get into town hall, and we can't meet, myself, the chair and the town administrator, and really, I mean, I've never chaired anything like this before. I do see value in vice chairing for a little bit. I think it's better for the town of Newbury, myself.
Other towns rotate the chair. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why we can't do it either, because it works in other towns. I don't see the value of holding a person in that position for three years, because now I've realized with a board of 5 in this new form of government how valuable the chairmanship is. Okay. So I'm just saying, I think it's time for a change, and Alicia, I think you're the change.
Well, thank you for the vote of confidence.
We have a motion on the table. I will move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Excuse me, what are we voting on? Excuse
Which
me.
motion?
Jeff's motion,
I'm sorry?
Jeff's motion.
Okay,
So I will move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
no,
Mike Doyle,
No,
J.R. Colby, yes. So now we need to appoint vice chair.
excuse me, you've ignored my motion, which was
Okay,
appropriately
would you
seconded.
repeat your motion, please, Jerry?
My motion was for Alicia Greco to be chair, and you've ignored it. So it needs to be voted either up or down. You just can't
Correct.
vote over it.
And it was seconded, correct?
seconded it.
Okay, we'll move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker.
JR, I couldn't hear you.
I said we will move to a roll call vote on Jerry's motion.
For Alicia to be chair, no.
Alicia Greco,
No.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
J.R. Colby, no. Okay, now for the position of vice chair. I move Alicia Greco for vice chair.
Second.
Discussion. Any comments from anybody? I just want to say it's been a pleasure to serve on the board with you, Alicia. I think you'd make a great vice chair in a transition to chair. You've dug into many things. You've added a lot to the discussions and the substance of the board. And I'd be happy and delighted to have you as vice chair working with me.
Thank you.
Any other comments before a roll call vote?
I think Alicia has worked hard to try to make everyone, get along, feel comfortable, work with the people, and would make a great vice chair. And then if she eventually wants to go on to chair, make a great chair someday too. So.
Exactly why she should be chair now. She can bring people together. We do not have a chair that will bring people together.
Any other comments?
Oh,
Just
Okay.
that she should have been chair last year.
We will move to a roll call vote if that's the end of the comments. Jeff Walker,
yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Michael Doyle.
Yes.
Okay, now for the position of clerk.
Usually the clerk is the newest member. Does Jerry want to be?
No, thank you. I'd rather be chair. That's not gonna happen. So I don't feel like playing the girl, okay? I think it's a very sexist attitude to, let the woman be the clerk or the secretary, so.
Well,
There was a time I would have killed,
that's
there was a time I would have killed to be chair.
Well,
That's fine. Thank you for enlightening me.
Yeah, that's,
So
that's quite all right.
I move that Jeff Walker become clerk.
if
Second.
I'll second that.
So,
what did you say, Jeff?
Jeff, did you say something?
no, I said if no one, certainly, yep.
Okay, any comments before we move to a roll call vote? Alicia Greco,
Yes.
J.R. Colby, yes. Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Michael Doyle.
Yes.
Okay. So we will move on. We have a request for public property special permits. Christina Howe. And that is July 6, 2020. We have an up-to-date sheet here.
I was already once.
No, we'll come back to the public property request. We have a business license application from Daniel LaBelle. Marsh Taylor, would you like to give us some insight into this?
You're on mute, Martha.
I'm actually not familiar with this.
Okay, this was a request for public parking. I'm honestly puzzled why it's in front of us because this was denied by the building inspector and it has to go to the ZPA for a ruling. The Board of Selectmen cannot rule why it was imperative it came before us. I'm not sure if anyone could clarify that. But anyway, they need to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals for a ruling. We also have a request for surplus from the harbor master. It is a outboard boat motor. Do we have a motion?
Motion made to sell.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry,
Oh, yep, roll call vote.
Jeff Walker,
Aye.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle.
Yes.
We have some fiscal year 21 appointments. We'll start with World War II Monument Committee. I'll read them as a whole. If anyone has any comments or any changes they'd like to make, I will entertain that in discussion. This is Work Monument Committee appointment for 1-year term. The appointment would be from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. We have Louise Beckett, Fred Davis, Craig Loth, Evelyn Noyce, John Reagan, and Bill Wendt.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Any discussion? To a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
and Michael Doyle.
Yes.
J.R. Colby, yes. Okay, we will move on to Conservation Commission. We have one appointment, Mary Reynolds, from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Open Space Committee, we have one, Julie Marion, July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
and we have some police appointments. We have these are requests for appointments to the emergency communications offices.
On discussion? On discussion?
Yes, after I read through, we'll get to discussion, Jerry. That's the process.
Okay.
Robert Fogel, Tessa LaFrance, and Kimberly Kowalik. Would someone like to make a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, now discussion.
Yeah. Is this emergency communications offices, is this another name for dispatchers?
Mike Riley, would you like to chime in?
Yes, they are, but they're not just dispatching for police, they dispatch for fire and DPW. So we wanted to move it from a completely police department related to a town-wide, so we call them emergency communications officers.
Thank you.
You're
Chief, one question.
Yep.
Do we have any newbie residents at all apply?
These are the three that have applied. If newbie residents want to apply, I welcome it. But
My question was, did any apply? Because, I mean, we got 3 out-of-town residents. I didn't know if
No.
anyone applied. Okay, thank you.
No.
That's all I'm asking.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or comments before I move to a roll call vote? Okay, Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if
Yes.
you're jumping around, but did we miss Council on Aging? Deirdre Heatwole?
yes, and Tracy, could you communicate?
No. Ms. Heatwell asked, she chose not to seek reappointment for personal reasons.
That's
Okay.
that's what I thought. It appears as an appointment in the packet.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Did we miss anything with anyone else, or is everything out? There was,
I don't believe so, unless, I mean, Tracy, can you shed light on the Daniel LaBelle business license application? I mean, that,
I'm not sure how it got to the agenda, Mr. Chairman, but it has been denied by the building commissioner, and that denial would force him to the zoning board of appeals if he wanted to take further action. So we should have pulled it It just didn't, we weren't aware that the building commissioner had denied it.
Okay. In the request for public property use special permits with Christina Howe, is that a correct date or an error? We have an early July date here, I believe.
7/6/20 to 9 something. The dates aren't accurate.
So I don't, we can't really take action on that unless we have an accurate date, so.
Julie, have information on that?
Yeah, I think because she had requested it earlier on, but we didn't have our next Board of Selectmen meeting until the 28th. So that would be why her dates are earlier in July, because she missed the June meeting, and then the next Board of Selectmen meeting we had was tonight. So I can ask her if that's needed to adjust the dates.
Yes, if you would please reach out to her and see if we need to adjust the dates or any future dates, just so we make sure we have her in the pipeline and it's timely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
it needs a date. It's got a month, but it needs a day, a year for the.
Right.
Okay, and now, Tommy Volpone, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'll let you kick it off.
Hi, I'm Thomas Volpone. I'm a Newbury resident and Eagle candidate for Troop 44. Tonight, I'm here to seek approval for my Eagle project. I've already been approved by the Recreational Committee, and my plan is to build 5 handicap accessible tables, 6 if I can receive enough funding for the Central Street fields in Newbury and Byfield. I'm going to be raising my funds through donations from local businesses, family, friends, and citizens. And I estimate that each table is going to be roughly $100 each.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
Comments would be, that sounds like a great project.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your journey.
Thank you.
And
Oh.
thank you for donating your time
And I
You're
have
to
welcome.
Newbury.
sons that are Eagles, and I know the process. Nice job.
Thank you.
Maybe I can get all the selectmen together and we can buy one of the tables.
Mike, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
I think I think we can do that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Tracy, do we need an official vote on this? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Motion?
I move to accept.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? I'll move to a roll call vote.
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Thanks for your commitment to being an Eagle, Tom.
Thank you.
Young men like you and young women make the old guys in town like us proud. So it's glad to
Yep.
see people doing good things.
Thank you.
All right,
Great
thank you.
role models. Thank you.
Okay, we have S-2252 Act modifications. These were voted by town meeting. It has already passed. Special act require Board of Selectmen approval and review. Tracy, would you like to get into some of the finer points about this? Just a brief overview.
Back a few town meetings ago, it was quite a while ago actually, the town meeting passed some minor changes to the Board of Selectmen Town Administrator Act. Included in those changes were submitting human resources instead of personnel. We are now the Human Resources Board. We changed what was previously in there under the Board of Fire Engineers and inserted in place the word the fire chief, striking out the highway superintendent and replacing it with the public works director. We inserted the assistant, a couple of positions that we didn't have when this act was passed, including the assistant town accountant, the administrative assistant, the information technology communications program manager, the production operations specialist, the principal assessor, and the assistant assessor. So those are the changes. town meeting approved it, and now the Senate needs the Board of Selectmen to approve it before they can take their action.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Any discussion? We'll move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Now we have an appointment of a select board member to the Eastern Veteran Service Board. I would entertain a motion.
I would like to continue with my position in that. I've enjoyed it. And I think we've got a lot done for the veterans new leadership.
That would be a motion I would make.
Then I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? So all those in favor? Oh, sorry, roll call vote.
Yeah.
We get used to that. Jeff Walker,
Aye.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes,
and J.R. Colby, yes.
thank you. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you for stepping up. Thank you for volunteering to do that, Mike.
It's been a great group.
Now we have a discussion of individual town email addresses for each select board member. I know, Jerry, you wanted this on the agenda, so I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah, yes, because our emails are public records and have to be preserved forever. I guess my concern is that where I'm a former attorney, and I still get communications from former clients, it would violate my attorney-client privilege. And also, it would violate, if we don't have a separate email address, the Public Records Act. I noticed, Ms. Blaze, on all of your emails, which you have a town email address, you note, it's a public document, it's a public record. So that's the concern that I have. And I think all of us should be concerned, because I don't think we want to mix our personal and business lives with the town, since if anyone were requested or sued on discovery, you might have to turn over all of your emails that you ever wrote, because you're writing them, mixing town business with your personal business, and I don't want to do that, especially where I have the added thing of attorney-client privilege.
I know one thing some other people have done is open up a new email address to deal with the town business. That's one way to handle it. I don't have a preference either way, but I have nothing to hide, and I would prefer that my email is the way it is. I want my correspondence on record. I have nothing to hide.
I'm not saying I have anything to hide.
I'm not looking. I'm just looking to give my opinion, Jerry. I'm not really looking for a rebuttal. I got nothing to hide. If my emails come through the office, there's nothing I'm going to miss. And if it's part of public record, fine by me. Everyone wants transparency. Look, and to me, office correspondence should be on the record. It should be public record. That's part of the transparency everyone says they're clamoring for. So that's just my personal opinion. I would prefer that mine stay the same. It doesn't bother me what people do with theirs.
If I may.
I personally would like one. I think we keep things much cleaner, from personal life, business life, and I like that. So yes, I would like one.
I think that Jerry's absolutely right, that if anything ever came, we were mentioned in a suit, that I would have to turn over all my emails and then to town council, and town council would have to go through them and deem what's town affiliated and what isn't. I asked for my own town of Newbury email address when I was first elected as well, and I just kind of fell by the wayside, and I've been using my own personal email. But I think that it's important that we keep, for the public records piece, that we keep town of Newbury correspondence distinctly separate from our personal email.
And And it's for transparency because you cannot ever delete them. So it's going to be, on your, plugging up your email for a long time. And it's
Right.
just it keeps it easier and simpler if it's segregated and you have business, town business on your email address, a town email address.
Hey,
A lot
Tracy, you had your hand
of
up?
employees have town email addresses. They don't use their personal addresses. And I don't
Tracy,
wanna
did
be
you have
one.
something to add?
Yes, when Select Board member Heavy asked, I inquired with the IT department, and we are able to do that. So if, board members want that, we're more than capable of providing that
Good.
at this time.
Thank you.
Any thoughts, Jeff?
Sounds like the board would rather do that. I mean, I've been at this a while and it's been fine, but I'm amenable to either way, which makes everyone comfortable.
Does it have to be all or one? Like, I don't, Tracy, maybe you can
Yes.
answer. I think JR can keep it going the way he's been going. And I think Jerry can set up her own and Mike can set up her own. And if I choose to set up my own, which I very well may, is that possible? And Jeff and JR can decide how they want to do it.
Yes.
Thank
Well,
you.
we'd have to have cards remade. That's the only thing too. With the new email on it.
That's not going to be that tough, Mike.
Well,
How
no,
does that-
because the email is on the card should say Board of Selectmen, Selectmen
Yeah,
at Town of
If you
Newbury.
have- if you have your personal, your new selectman's email on it.
Yeah, but you can write that on the back.
That's
I
like
mean,
it's
if you
good.
wanted new cards, it's only $25. It's fine. But
Okay, I'd entertain, so just to clarify, the thought is this isn't board-wide mandatory. We can stay with the open book protocol if we want to, correct? Is that the thought?
it is. That's what I'm thinking.
On the
Yeah.
motion.
JR, can I ask Tracy for some illumination? How is that going to work? We're just going to put, input another email box and access it from our home computer anyway?
Right. You'd have to, I don't know any of the details. I'd have to refer you to Susan, but you'd have remote access to it so you could read your own.
Okay, so we have remote access to a separate, otherwise they got to take your computer anyway. How does that work? That's all I'd like to know,
No, I envision it as just another, instead
email.
of going to your Outlook, you go to your Gmail.
Yeah.
You go to that and you just
That's
read
what
your
I
email
envision
separate.
too.
Susan just texted and she said it is accessed through the internet. So,
Okay, I'll move to a roll call vote. I'll move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Okay, now we will hear from Chief Riley if he was ready to go. You still there, Chief?
I'm here. Sorry about that. I shut my video off while I was petting my dog. If the board will indulge me 2 minutes while I read a letter, and then I will take questions and everything afterwards.
Sure, go
So
ahead.
I submitted this letter to the chairman and town administrator today. Honorable Select Board. In 1987, then Chief Roger Murray hired me, a naive 20-year-old college kid, as a reserve patrolman. I was immediately accepted into my second family, the Newbury Police Department. Throughout my tenure as a Newbury police officer, I have been blessed to work in such an outstanding community with so many tremendous colleagues. During my 32-plus year career, I have seen this community during both good and bad times and have always been so impressed with the character of its citizens and its employees. Newbury is truly a wonderful community. Both great excitement and a profound sense of sadness that I announce my retirement from the Newbury Police Department. My last day will be September 30th, 2020. It has been an honor to lead the department for the past 14 years. I am proud of what our department has been able to accomplish during this time and look forward to seeing where the future police chief can lead this extraordinary group of women and men. None of our accomplishments would have been possible without the hard work of so many people. First and foremost, the police officers, communications personnel, and administrative staff of the department are second to none. Each and every one of them work hard and genuinely care about this community. I'm proud of this team. Town administrator and her staff have been instrumental in the success of the Newbury Police Department. I cannot thank them enough for their guidance, expertise, and friendship over my tenure. The various select boards under which I have served have been tremendous. I thank them all for allowing the Newbury Police Department to carry out its mission. And finally, I thank the citizens of Newbury for putting their trust in me to lead this outstanding department. I am humbled and forever grateful for the kindness, understanding, and compassion that you have shown me and our officers. The decision to retire wasn't easy. I've been thinking about it for a long time now. I am genuinely excited about my future career opportunities, but will miss this job, this community, and the friends that I have made. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And really, that's what I have to say. So, thank you.
I just want to say I'm happy for you. I was sad to hear the news. Really, you've been around ever since I remember, and I was recognizing police officers. Our department, I'm so very proud of. Our offices, where it's come to this point, the fact that we're on the verge of finishing. And I'm sad, and part of me's not happy that we need another person. Very happy for you. You've put your time in, you've done the job right, and just so thankful that you've been part of the team.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's funny because I'm looking at the list, the squares of who's on the meeting, and I see Joyce Macheros there. And I remember back in 1987 meeting with Angie and working under Angie, and it just brings back so many good memories. And so Joyce, it's nice to see you out there. Even though it's on Zoom, I would have much rather have done this in person. That's the way I like to operate. But I've been having a lot of discussions with my wife and my family, and it's time. And I think the mark of a good leader is to know when it's time. And for me to continue on at this point would be doing myself and eventually the town a disservice. It's time for me to move on, to get some fresh ideas in, and we have some tremendous people in-house that would be more than able to step up and continue what we've got going. Really, I thank you all. I can't thank the board enough. I can't thank Tracy and all her team, the finance people, and all the town department heads enough. I've spoken with a couple of them personally already. I spoke with my department earlier, and so yeah, I feel good about this decision. I wish it wasn't during the time of COVID, but I will stay around long after to help anybody that needs any help. They can always call me. I'm not just walking away. So,
Chief, I just want to say
yes,
real quickly, we go back a long time with 2001 when I was selectman, and 20 years later, you're still there. I guess thank you. You had a great run, and thanks for everything you did for the town.
Thank you so much. And it's been a great run. It's been a great town to work in.
You've had a great. Not the only thing, I don't have to go swimming with you next year now, though.
I'll still do the polar plunge. It just won't be as a police officer. That's
okay. All right.
Yeah, congratulations, Mike. Job well done.
Thanks, Alicia.
You're welcome, and good luck in your next phase, because it's when one book closes, another one opens, and you're going to have a whole that you're still young enough to enjoy another retirement.
I have a law degree that I'm looking at maybe getting its money's worth out of. So yeah. I've been preparing for this for a while. So hopefully we have some good work ahead of me and the family.
And Mike, for me, I would like to thank you for your humanism, wisdom, and sternness when needed. You've done a great job in your position, and you've crafted the ability for a lot of people to move ahead in the police force. And I think it's been a real
yeah, I missed that one.
Thank you very much. We have some good people, some very good people. I'm proud of every one of them on the police department. We have no troublemakers, and seriously, everybody wants to do a great job. And we have some people with some great ideas, and some progressive thinking. And I think, 32 years, I'm a dinosaur now. So, I mean, it's time for some fresh ideas to come in. And I look forward to where the new police chief will lead the department. I think you'll be very happy. So,
You'll wear out the motorcycle.
oh, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. So,
Okay, going forward, we will need to name an interim chief. What would your guidance be on that, Chief Riley, on the timing? I guess I'll reach out to you and Tracy.
yep. September 30th will be my last day that's when I'll officially step down. And we have a deputy chief for a reason. He's excellent, and you all know him, and he can do the job. And that's who I would absolutely recommend to step in, and we'll move forward from there. But, I will have discussions with each and every one of you before then. And, I'm there to help and assist in the transition. And I'm not walking away in anger or anything like that. There's nothing but love. And I want the next person stepping in to have as seamless a transition as possible and be able to pick the ball up and run with it. And whether it's in a different direction than we're going or the same direction, that's up to the new chief and the new board and the town administrator. So I'm more than willing to help. So.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thanks again for everything, Mike.
No problem. Thank you.
You're going to be missed. So before we move on, appropriate to name the interim chief tonight?
No.
Should we wait till our next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a chief until September 30th.
We have no time to rush. And like I said, it's like, let's all I digest what just happened. I had no idea this was coming.
Yeah, I would just wait and digest a little bit. And like I said, I'm not going anywhere until September 30th. So you have plenty of time to think about a game plan and how you move forward. That would be my suggestion, but obviously the board can vote and do what it pleases.
Right. Okay, no, that sounds good for me. We can discuss it some more at our next meeting. So thank you, Chief Riley. Do you have anything else to share with us tonight?
Unless you want to go with a COVID update, really,
Sure.
that's.
Yeah.
Okay, we're still in a pandemic, and really that's all. No, I'm just teasing. COVID, we are still one of the communities with the fewest positive COVID confirmations in the Commonwealth. Our last positive COVID case was July 11th, and that brought the number up to 13. So we're still extremely low as far as positive tests go, which I'm thrilled with. It's a testament to the citizens, obviously, and the plans that we have in place. We've been getting some complaints about the beach and about the private lots and parking. And really, I know Newburyport closed their lot to nothing but residents only. And that's very simple to do down that end because it's one parking lot at the end of one road and all you have to do is put a gate across it. It's extremely difficult to do down our end because of all the rentals and everything else going on. And to build the private lots and to make it residents only would put several businesses out of business. So it's a very difficult decision to make. I would implore the board to speak with the Board of Health and with the health agent and the emergency management team before making any decisions like that, because it does have profound effects on the private businesses out there. I know there have been complaints about social distancing on the beach during the really hot days. We do post a police officer out there. The police officer reminds people about the social distancing mandates, but unfortunately under this, under the governor's guidance, police have no authority to enforce it. That's a Board of Health and a health department mandate, and the health department is the enforcing agency on those. But our officer out there does remind people, has plenty of masks to hand out to people that don't have masks, and they're out there all the time. The thing about the parking out there's a finite number of spots. So once those spots are filled, whether they're filled with resident vehicles or non-resident vehicles, there's a finite number of them. So, to all the on-street parking, except for a few spots on Sunset, are resident only, and those are strictly enforced. Plum Island Center is resident only, and it's strictly enforced. At some point, if it doesn't settle down, we'll turn Sunset into resident only as well and see where that goes. But I suggest taking baby steps to curb the problems out there before we take giant leaps. Just the restaurants out there, everybody's trying to do the right thing with the social distancing. They're trying to do the right thing with the mask wearing. The businesses are trying to do the right thing. Everybody is trying to do the right thing. And we're at the mercy of people want to get out. And that's just the way it is. And a lot of other beaches around, Salisbury Beach is going through the same issue, and some of the other beaches are. So we're handling it. I know the deputy chief reported to me he was out this past weekend. 2 weekends ago, it was insane. There was traffic backed up the Turnpike and up Northern Boulevard. It was crazy. Just all the parking spots filled up, and people were just driving around, almost like Hampton Beach, driving around waiting for a spot to open up. Last weekend, the dep reported that it was busy, but it wasn't overwhelming and it wasn't crazy. And I think a lot of that had to do with Newburyport advising that their lot was closed. But even if we did turn the lots into resident-only lots, the refuge is still open and is allowing everybody in, and it's literally an act of Congress for the refuge manager to close those lots. They have to go to Washington and get a vote for that to happen. So it's very difficult, and we went through that prior, and to have them close when we closed everything off, and they just got permission to get everything open, and to ask the refuge manager to go back and do it again, that's a tall task for that person. It puts the refuge manager in a really difficult position. So that's that. We're still digesting the governor's new travel ban. There are 8 states which are deemed low risk, all the New England states, New York, New Jersey, and Hawaii. And meaning that if our employees or anybody travels to one of those states and comes back into Massachusetts, they don't have to take any action as far as self-quarantining. Any other state, the person that travels there upon returning to Massachusetts has to self-quarantine for 14 days or produce a negative COVID result within 72 hours of returning to the state. It's going to be difficult to enforce. There's a lot of self-reporting going on, and we're digesting at the police department right now. We're digesting how we're going to handle it with police officers and dispatchers and people that have vacations planned. I have a vacation planned next month in Tennessee that I'm canceling. So we're still digesting that. I'm working with the town administrator to come up with a plan for town employees. And I talked to Chief Jambrin today, even though he's away this week. I talked to him on the phone about a plan for the fire department personnel, because the last thing we need is an emergency responder traveling to one of those states and then that person is out for 14 days. That's a tough task for small departments like ours. So we're digesting that. And then really that's about it on the COVID front, unless anyone has any questions.
Well, I have a comment. Even though the beaches are crowded, the town as a whole is still very low.
Yes.
So I think that's good.
Yeah, it's good. And I mean, a lot of the crowding are people in the same group. So you get
Like
7
families
people
and
that
stuff.
travel together. The families are close friends
Yeah.
that are always together anyway. It's just, sometimes it's a smaller beach because of erosion, and sometimes it's really difficult to space the groups out the way we'd like them to be spaced out. And, you know, it's a tough sell. So,
Yeah.
and I can understand where some of the complaints come from, and I understand the complaints, and, you know, it's kind of a no-win situation. So
I just want to say the businesses down there have done an amazingly good job.
they have.
Social distancing, gloves, masks, making sure everyone wears their mask properly while they're walking around the restaurants. And in the other stores too. It's like, really, they've done a good job, and they deserve to be, stay open and have other people come down. So,
Right, and I agree that they have done a great job. They've done everything we've asked. Every business owner out there has done everything the town has asked them to do. And, you know, our numbers are still very low. And
Thank God, really.
yeah, I'm thrilled, and I'm very happy that it, you know, town meeting was a hot issue. And, you know, I think we didn't see a spike in COVID cases after town meeting. So I think Tracy and her team did a great job putting together the plan for the town meeting. I think everything went as well as can be expected. This is uncharted waters for everybody. I mean, we're making this stuff up as we go along. We're doing the best we can. But, you know, we're always willing to listen and always willing to adjust plans. But just remember, if we act rashly, the collateral damage and consequences to citizens in Newbury and the businesses could be great. So before we take any major steps and things like that, I'd like to just have full discussion with the board and with the health department and with the town administrator to see if we can take the least restrictive measures first and then escalate it as needed, as opposed to going draconian and just cutting everything off immediately. So I'll be returning a bunch of emails tomorrow from several people that have complained about beach crowding. So,
Like,
yes,
I think the wisdom of being able to discuss it like you have tonight, if Jen's on, the newspaper's going to pick it up. I mean, it almost makes it like the parking lots are yours to be able to keep if you just wear your mask and be a little vigilant. So it might be really good, you know, Mike, if you speak when you, I'll tell people, Alicia, if we can kind of spread the word, it would be good that, you know, we have a critical problem and people, when they're getting out of their cars in the confines of the parking lot, should really just wear their masks.
the lot owners are pretty good about that, and they remind people, we don't want you congregating in the parking lots. Just unload your things or load your things up and leave. And excuse me, they've been very good about that. And you know, you're obviously going to get people that refuse to wear a mask. You're going to get people that just refuse to comply. But, you know, overall, 90% of the people are doing very well and they comply. So, Selectman Heath, yes.
Oftentimes, when the local paper gives the statistics, there's nothing listed for Newbury. Why is that? Is that because our numbers are so low, they have to be beyond 10
Yes.
to be
Yep.
reported?
On the state reporting system, I'm not sure if it even upped from 10. You didn't even make the reporting list for the state if your numbers were below 10. And now I think because we've been in this so long, the number might be a little higher. I haven't checked because I haven't really needed to. Our numbers have been so low, but that is exactly the reason. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to mute myself and listen to the rest of the meeting. So if you need me, I'm here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Chief.
Mike.
That's Mike.
Okay, we have one more appointment. Greg Atkinson won the election for constable and declined the position. Runner-up Thomas Howard, 65 Middle Road. This would be an appointment. Do I have a motion?
Motion made to appoint Tom until the next election. I've known great man, great character, and he'll do a good job for us.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? I'll move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. That wraps up our appointments. Okay, Chairman of the Human Resources Board, Mark Gleckman, would you like to speak tonight?
Hey, can you hear me, JR?
We can.
I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. I was just looking to participate on mute. But if you're referring to the letter I sent, I'm happy to briefly mention where it came from.
Sure.
At our last HR board meeting a month ago, Diane Doyle mentioned that it had been a while since we had put together a formal goal-setting exercise where we would talk about, you know, the things we had accomplished over the past fiscal year, and perhaps more importantly, going into this new fiscal year, what was left to do? You know, were there major projects unattended? Or if not, were the things that we should be proactively thinking about doing that would benefit the town and its employee population? As a result of that conversation, I made the decision to send that same message along to Town Administrator Blaze and to the Select Board to give you folks an opportunity to weigh in on that topic. If, as an example, either the Town Administrator or any members of the Select Board, or as a complete Select Board, if you felt that you would like the Human Resources Board to tackle any particular subject matters, you know, things that are obviously within our purview, you know, it could be the classification system, it could be compensation, it could be hiring practices, it could be really anything that relates to the town and its employee population. So we wanted you folks to have an opportunity to offer suggestions, make recommendations. You know, if there's anything that's important to you, as a result, it'll be important to us as well. So that was the nature of the letter that I sent.
Okay, perfect. So any of us with any comments, we can reach out to the Human Resources Board.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that. At our next meeting, which is the fourth Monday in August, we'll take up that subject in earnest and come out with a goal-setting plan for fiscal 2021. And would certainly like to have the opportunity to have the Select Board and or the Town Administrator weigh in advance of that meeting. I mean, I'll give you an example. One thing that is left unattended from a couple of years ago that we thought was important was the issue of annual reviews for employees. It's something that we originally had in the old personnel policy. It's been stripped out of the new personnel policy because it was clear to us when we broached this subject to the board a year or so ago that there was no consensus as to whether that was a good thing to do, or whether it would benefit the town and its employee population, or whether it was unnecessary. We, as an HR board, I think I can speak for the members, feel that there is some merit to it, but we certainly can't do that without the acquiescence of both the Town Administrator and the Board of Selectmen. So that's just one example of a subject we'd like to tackle, but we need your guidance to do that.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think that this is something that requires some thought. I think that, Mark, do you have, and I'm sorry, I remember reading your letter, but I don't, when you say goal setting, do you have a specific list or criteria that you would like to tackle? I mean, I know you mentioned that one thing, but.
Yeah, no, it's really a blank slate, Alicia. Again, I didn't come to this conversation with any preconceived notions of what that goal setting might be. Again, this is very simply an opportunity for the individual members of the board or the Select Board as a group, and or Town Administrator Blaze and her managerial population to give us some ideas of things you would like to see changed, increased, enhanced, tweaked as it relates to the personnel policy, as it relates to our employee population. And again, there's a whole spectrum of opportunities available, but you know, we're not looking for busy work here. We're looking to do things that we feel, and perhaps more importantly, you feel would benefit the town and by extension, its employee population.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I would like to do, if it's okay, if the board, I'd like feedback from the board on this. I would like to work with the town administrator and perhaps the chairman of the Human Resources Board to kind of come up with a framework for the goal setting and then bring it back to the board for discussion and a vote to provide guidance to the Human Resources Board and a direction. Because it sounds to me like they're a ship without a rudder right now. They need a little guidance.
Well, let me respond
I don't
to
know
that.
if I,
That's not exactly what I was suggesting.
Okay.
We have a monthly agenda that's been in place for many years that we cover. We have projects that come up during the course of the year. They may be related to a hiring situation, may be related to a reclassification of a particular position, or the creation of a new role. Managers may ask us to help them create job descriptions or make tweaks to existing policies and procedures that fall under the personnel policy. So we certainly have enough to do. We are by no means rudderless or aimless here. All I'm suggesting is that if any of you folks have suggestions or ideas of things that you would like to see tweaked, enhanced, again, I would refer you to the personnel policy for those of you maybe who haven't had the opportunity or haven't taken the opportunity to read through that policy. It's comprehensive. It's something we're very proud of. It's something that took us a tremendous amount of time to accomplish.
Mhm.
But again, as it states, it's a living document. And so as it relates to your town employees, including the managerial population, if there's something that you think is out of whack, something that you think would benefit the town, we're all ears. That's all this is meant to be.
all right, thank you, Mark, for the opportunity to provide outreach.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on. Town Hall project discussion. We've recently reorganized. We have a new member on the board. I want to start a discussion of where do we go from here? Because I feel we need to keep the ball rolling. Town Hall's been an issue. We're paying, nearly to the tune of $170,000 a year to be in Byfield. I'm going to share some of my thoughts and kick it out to the rest of the board for discussion. I've been here through several iterations to our municipal building needs. We tried a combo building, money. That didn't get over. The voters seemed to prefer the separate police station, and that's where we ended up. But we still have Town Hall to seat and finish the job. And I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm gonna share a couple personal thoughts and I'll turf it out to the board. I think the right solution for the town is to go back to Morgan Ave. Almost a 400-year-old colonial community. That green and Morgan Ave, it's not perfectly central, but it's fairly central. That's where the town is, for most of recent history, that's where the town has met in the middle. And I think, part of the turbulence in town and things, that the atmosphere in the old town hall, while the building was completely inadequate and not big enough, the atmosphere was better. The flow among the staff was better. I think the flow among the selectmen was better. People were popping in and out. I think more townspeople happened by town hall and see who was in there. For me, it was a great chance to, you see a couple vehicles, oh, this one and that one's there. It's a great time to knock off a situation. And, I think part of the chemistry of the town is having our civic center at the green. Exactly what that building will be, I don't know. From reading the tea leaves, for lack of a better way to put it, probably what the appetite for the voters is, from what I hear from constituents, is a renovation in addition as opposed to a knockdown. I think a knockdown is probably a smarter way to go, but sometimes we pick a different way to go. No problem with that. So does anyone else want to kick off comments? I know, Alicia, you've been around for a long time to see all the different versions. Jeff's been around for a long time. You know, Mike's been around for a year. He's talks to a lot of people about the topic. What do you have for thoughts?
At the meeting we had on citizens' concerns, this came up, okay? And there were strong concerns of, you know, that since COVID, okay, the butchery's gotten extremely busy. Okay, I think they've hired 6 new people because it's like, I think the business, he says, was up to 200 to 250%, which is great. But the thing is, the street's busier, that corner's busier. I mean, election day, when we were holding signs, I couldn't believe how much traffic. I mean, in granted, there was an election, but still, it's like that whole intersection. You got Parker Street coming, you got people coming out of Morgan, you got people coming down High. Okay, you just, I mean, when I stop to go into Morgan sometimes, I just pray that the person coming down High saw my blinker. I'm worried about the congestion at the corner, and it's a good, I appreciate JR that you started the conversation tonight, because I think it's going to be the start of a long conversation. So thank you.
Thoughts from anyone else?
Yes. Yeah, I guess I'm concerned because right now we don't know what our financial situation is going to be based upon the funding that we get from the state. So I guess I would like to take a step back, figure out where we're going, how badly we're going to get hurt because of the financial situation that municipalities, we're all in the same boat because of, you know, there's no, the tax basis is reduced to 53% that we get from the state. So I guess I would like to take it slow and figure out where we're going, what's our pocketbook going to look like next year, 2 years from now, because of what's going on right now. I think we and the rest of the municipalities are in for a rude awakening and a lot of hurt. So I'd like to take it slow.
I think to find the path and figure out what it's going to cost, we need to figure out what version of a solution we need to move towards. So I think that's definitely a part of the process, and we need to move slow, but things have moved awful slow so far. So we also need to keep the ball rolling, because this Council on Aging need to come into the pipeline at some point here, and we need to keep things lined up and moving. Alicia, do you have any thoughts at all?
Yes, I do. I understand what Jerry's saying, and I completely agree. They're talking about 20% cuts to our operating budget to, UGGR and to cherry sheet money and all that other stuff. That Newbury is a bit unique because we're a bedroom community. We don't rely heavily on sales tax and other types of taxes for our income, but we do rely on state aid and we do rely on property taxes mostly. But I believe the town has, and Tracy, you might have to help me out on this, but I believe we already have a significant amount of money put aside for a solution for town hall. And I suggest that we put that money towards a design. And we've already done a needs assessment. If we can get a design as to what we're going to build, we don't have to move on it. We can wait till next year and wait, but at least the lion's share of the work will be done. And then we can just move on it as needed. As money allows.
Jeff, do you have any thoughts?
Just the obvious things. We're in the motion of trying to complete the police station, and certainly pulling forth a certain philosophy of what we'd like to do with our town hall certainly seems to be logical. Newbury has taken an awful long time over the years to address the buildings for its employees, and a lot of towns kind of addressed them earlier, and some are really going through some things like we are now. But building has gone up so much. The only good thing is that money's down. So if we're going to be able to complete some of the needs, it might be good to try to do it now because it's certainly timely. Maybe the same building committee would move forward and bump over because they've certainly done a good job on the police station. So certainly JR and Alicia, it's a good move to at least discuss it. It's a lot of money to rent.
Mike, you had your hand up?
Yeah, before we make a design though, we're gonna make sure where we're gonna put the building. Because it's like, if you design a building that's not gonna fit on the corner, okay, but it's like, or if we have another location, I'm just saying, we have to find the location before we pick the design.
Oh, I think the location has been vetted. I think it's the center of the community. And I understand what you're saying about it being active, but that's what a center of a community is. The town owns that property. I don't think we own anything else. I mean, we've looked at purchasing other buildings. We've looked at moving it elsewhere. We've looked at a lot of things, and it all comes back to this. This has got municipal hookup. It's centrally located to the police and the fire. It's on the green. I mean, I think there's no better place to put this. Now, the Council on Aging does, and I know it's not on the agenda right now, and I know it's under correspondence, but they need a solution. So I think that a solution may be at this town hall location, possibly including them in a spot here. But until we see what that looks like, I mean, the designs that we currently have was a municipal building. I'd like to see just town hall and possibly look at what the Council on Aging would look like there, a studio, what that would look like there, and then see what that brings.
If all that came together in that location, I don't know how we would park that many cars.
Well, we need to vet that out. That's a very good point.
I mean, one thing is, it's really kind of imperative to move forward. I mean, we do have some concerns, but buildings change. You know, we adopted a stretch energy code. There's a lot of things that are going to make that building even a challenge. So it's not going to get easier if we put it off for years to try to read.
No, we can't continue to put this off. And I'm not quite sure renovating. I know that's the sentiment of some people in town, but I'm not quite sure if that's the best use of taxpayer money. I mean, I need somebody to tell me that. I need a design engineer.
I think that's up to the voters too, though.
Well, I think it's up to a design engineer, somebody that knows building, that can say, listen, it's going to cost you $3 million to do this and only $500,000 to do it this way.
Right, and unfortunately, Alicia, you're correct about that. New construction or a knockdown would generally be a better use of tax dollars per se, but that's not what the voters have chosen in the past. That's why in the last few years, I had to let go of what is the absolute best dollars and cents solution. And
I know we could have had this all solved for $12 million. Instead, we just have a police station for $8 million.
we'd be watching it get done right now.
Get more expensive as we go along.
Right. And one thing I just want everyone to keep in mind as we go forward thinking about this. Here, state revenues can drop. The need doesn't go away, and neither does our $170,000 rent bill in Byfield. So
that's only going to go up.
Correct. And we can feel like we're being conservative by staying
but we're not.
I'm not complaining about the facility over here. It's clean and well kept. But rent doesn't go away. When we look at making our colonial community whole again, bringing it back to the green, and actually paying off the town hall solution rather than paying rent that goes to nothing. I know people that have been renting their whole lives, and it's great to pick up the phone when something needs to be fixed to this and that, and that's kind of the situation we have here. But at the end of the day, you got nothing to show for it. You got your car and your stuff, and you're out of there.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mike.
When is the rent up in our building on Kent Street now? And how long of a lease are we extending?
Tracy?
We're in the last year of our lease, and as I had mentioned to you previously, the Finance Department is working on the bid document currently. So we will go out to bid with the same terms that we structured this lease, 3-year lease with 2 succession 1-year terms for renewal. So we would have an option to stay an additional 2 years if we exercised it.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, it's going to be kind of interesting because a lot of urban rent has gone or will go down with some of the things that are occurring. But that makes rentals that are outside the city sometimes going to respond in a different direction. They're going to become more valuable and more sought after. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with our rent.
Cool.
So what's the feeling, the sentiment of the board to move forward with the money that we have in this town hall account?
I've
look
reached
at-
out. We have the architects right now. They had worked on the combination building. They're still working on the police station. I reached out to Jeff Shaw to see if he would be receptive and willing to Zoom into one of our meetings, answer some questions, give us some options. I think we know what the answers to a lot of them are, anyone that's been engaged over the last 4 or 5 years. That might be a good starting place if that was agreeable to the board. You know,
I like that idea.
he's a hired expert and that's, you know, it's what he does. And I feel like so far they've steered us to wise choices.
It's
So-
a good idea.
Yep. Can we ask him to come to our next board meeting? Mr. Chairman, I do want to make you aware that it's not currently scheduled, but at the public hearing for the golf facility, we had to have another meeting on August 11th, I believe it was. Yeah, August 11th. So we are going to have the 4 members of the board will be convening on August 11th. Martha, that was the date, right? August 11th? Yeah. So I don't know if we want to add.
If Mr. Shaw is available and can be prepared, I'll ask him to come in as long as that doesn't make the night too long for you folks.
So, well, I'm thinking,
You could do it
Martha, is
before,
it possible? Well, my thought is we get the public hearings at 7. I don't know if we want to convene at 6:30 and have him come in and then start the public hearing at 7. Martha, what do you think? Am I trying to cram too much to one night?
I guess it really depends on how long the conversation might be regarding the building. I could see that taking potentially more than half an hour. So it sort of depends on everybody's availability to start earlier. I certainly wouldn't do it after the public hearing, and that's scheduled for a time certain.
Right.
And I'm not sure will a 6 o'clock start work for everybody?
I can make it.
I can do 6.
I'm fine.
Okay, I can as well. Jerry?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Okay,
Let's see if he's available
Right.
too.
if he's available on that date and ready, I'll plan on having him in and we'll tentatively plan on a 6 o'clock meeting time. So, okay, so
Thank you.
we'll move on. Review of the Triton Regional Agreement. Tracy, do you want to just give us a little overview of changes and the reason why this is basically a town council review, correct, of the Triton Regional Agreement?
Yeah, at one of our meetings prior to the town meeting, when the school district sent this over to us, one of the board members, and I don't remember who it was, suggested that we have town council review it prior to placing it on one of our subsequent town meetings. And this is just the information from Mead, Talaman, and Coster based on their review. Just that you-
Okay, thank you. Does it require any action by the board?
You would just want to review it, digest it, and feel comfortable with all the changes before we put it on our next town meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So I suggest that the board members read this, and if we have any questions, that we invite the superintendent and the chair of the school committee to one of our meetings to answer any questions that we have.
Also, the clerical mistake on page 11, Town of Newbury Board of Selectmen signatures, it's got Chuck Bayer and Damon Jespersen still. And we have to change, because it says 4/7/2020, but the paper was signed.
Yeah, as time goes
Yeah.
along, we're still
Right, yeah.
flushing out some old forms and stuff.
Right, we gotta clean them up every time we do them.
Right.
Right.
Also, we were given two documents, the final version and then the marked up version. My marked up version with all the changes was illegible. So could we get a copy that is readable?
Yep, I'll get you an electronic
Yeah.
copy.
That'd be great.
I think, okay, so we need to reach out to the chair and ask them to send a electronic copy. And then I think we need to invite the superintendent and the chair to one of our meetings to discuss this. Because I would like to see this on the fall town meeting, if possible.
One thing we could do, Alicia, is after we digest this a bit, none of us might have any real questions, so we can go with that or still invite them in. I mean, if nothing seems out of line for us, you know, they're busy too during COVID.
Okay,
So take a peek.
okay.
We have a Main Street Solar execution of tax agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this as an
Okay,
abutter.
okay. Do you have anything you need to add to this, Martha, before we take a vote?
I don't think so. This was town meeting authorized the board to sign it. And it's in relation to the special permit that was granted back in May of 2018, actually.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to sign?
Second,
All those in favor?
Roll call.
Sorry, roll call vote. Jeffrey Walker,
yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Michael Doyle.
Yes.
Yes, and I will recuse. So move on. Okay. Last item for today. We have an ethics complaint filed under the Board of Selectmen Code of Conduct. Mike Doyle filed a complaint against Alicia Greco.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
like I said, since the complaint hasn't been investigated to the standards that I was held to, I am going to remove the complaint and just send everything to the ethics board.
I think we still need to go through it for a determination of the,
So that's fine, but I think if we're gonna go through it, you're gonna hold the same scrutiny I was held to with having town council involved in the proper interviews, because I got registered letters, okay, when my complaint came up, and I says, so I'm thinking this was, you know, PR said, TR said, I think it should be done by town council and done properly.
this investigation was done in accordance with our select board code of
Well,
conduct.
how come it was different than the way mine was done?
I have no interest in revisiting your incident. It's got nothing to do with this. I have no interest in revisiting that.
All right. So my motion to table this, okay, and just send it to the Ethics Commission. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second it.
So we
Okay,
have-
discussion.
I think, okay, I will discuss. I said, there has been no set standards that held the same that I was held to, okay? From even yelling at supposedly yelling at Tracy Blaze, okay? So I am gonna say, we have to do it the same way, because what's good for Doyle is good for the rest of the board, okay? And that's what I'm saying. So once again, I am gonna take it off the table and just pass my findings onto the ethics board.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, Alicia, do you want to go through with this? Because, I mean, that's really, by my, that he's kind of denying you a chance to speak.
No, I'm not. She'll have a chance with the ethics board.
Mr. Chairman, I feel that this complaint alleges violations of the open meeting law. And the only way that I would violate an open meeting law is if I was in the presence of my own board. I was alone at the planning board meeting at that time, so there's no open meeting law violation in that respect. The allegations that were against me by Mr. Matthews, Anthony Matthews, alleges that I was specifically asked about this Borrego solar project at 136 Main Street. As an abutter to the project, I stated that I was disappointed the project was going through the special permit process. That special permit was issued in 2018. I feel these are lies that are trumped up against me in retaliation for my complaint against Selectman Doyle when he was speaking at the Triton District Communication meeting when the board had voted that he had to recuse himself. I don't believe there's anything criminal alleged in this complaint against me, which was why the police would have to be notified. In direct comparison, as Selectman Doyle wants to compare complaints, his had a criminal aspect to it. This doesn't have a criminal aspect to it. I can ask, I guess, Chief Riley if he wants to weigh in on that. I just feel as if this is just sour grapes by Tony Matthews, and quite frankly, our board is supposed to be the Board of Ethics. This ethics code of ethics is supposed to be for the board. There's no member of the board even present there. They're taking somebody else's word for a board member is taking somebody else's word. It's hearsay. It's just trumped up. It's not true. I'd like you to read your investigation for the record, and you can't allege ethics violations and then willy-nilly decide, well, I'm going to throw it out there and then I'm going to take it back.
No,
If you want to submit this to the Ethics Commission,
I
Mike,
will.
please
I
do.
will.
Okay,
I will.
because I would welcome that because I didn't do anything wrong.
well,
So
Okay, we have a motion
Selectmen-
that was seconded, so we will vote on the motion. Roll call vote. Alicia Greco.
What
to-
is the motion? What is the motion?
Mike's
to-
motion.
To table
Mike,
this?
would you like to clarify your motion?
Motion was, I withdraw my complaint because it wasn't investigated properly, and I will just send it to the Ethics Commission. We didn't have to do this tonight.
Okay, and there was a second, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move to a roll call vote. Alicia Greco?
No.
Jeff Walker?
I'll vote with Alicia, no.
All right. Mike Doyle?
Yes.
Jerry Heavy?
Yes.
J.R. Colby? No. I think it's important that Select Person Greco has a chance for this to be all clear and present and transparent for the public. So there are no misconceptions about what did or didn't take place.
Thank
May I
you.
say something since I haven't chimed in because I haven't? We do have a state ethics commission who have handled all ethical problems till now. I don't understand why the board had to write up their own special applicable only to the Board of Selectmen people. That's what this is the problem. It's his complaint, her complaint. Stop picking at scabs, people. Let the professionals at the state ethics committee handle it. If there's a problem, they'll find out. They'll be independent. They're professionals. They're former judges, some of them. They're attorneys. Instead of trying to play investigator. It's stop picking at scabs and let's move on. We have bigger things to deal with in this town than backstabbing each other. This is so unhealthy for this board. it really is inappropriate. All of this going on, it's ridiculous. We need to move on. There are other issues. People are unemployed. They can't pay their real estate taxes. They don't have jobs. They don't have jobs. They don't have health insurance to take care
Sherry,
of
can
illness.
we please move on to the, can we please move on to the matter at hand? We're getting a little into the weeds here.
Yeah, well, we are, and I think we should, because this is ridiculous. Stop picking at scabs, people. And let's move on.
I would just like an opportunity to have my name cleared. I'd just
Alright.
like to know what the investigation found. That's all. And then
Just
it can go
like-
to the
just
ethics
like I
commission.
told you.
Okay. On March 20th, March 5th, 2020, a complaint was delivered to Town Hall, hand delivered. It's a copy of correspondence between Anthony Matthews and the editor of the Daily News. Some emails back and forth, handwritten on the complaint. Chairman Colby, please use information in this letter to open up a code of ethics violation on Selectman Greco. Signed Selectman Michael. Everyone's had a chance to over Tony's letter. I can hash over it again. I think we need to, again, in the source of transparency and clarity. This is in response to, I was at the planning board meeting on January 22nd, 2020, and witnessed the appearance of an open meeting law in Selectmen's Code of Ethics violation. After the meeting was adjourned, the recording camera was shut off, and as the planning board members were collecting their paperwork and things, from the front row addressed the board members about the validity and the need for special permits in Newbury. She expressed her dislike of special permits as they allow projects in regards to location and potentially alter a neighborhood's landscape. She specifically asked about the Borrego Solar Project at 136 Main Street that had been on the agenda that evening. The project, she's disappointed that the project was going through the special permit approval process. She expressed her concerns with the tree cutting road to be built, the bridge to be installed over wetlands, and who would oversee the building code compliance. The town would entertain an application to build the solar project in a residential area, not just reject it. She spoke of other special permit projects that have come before the board that were incompatible with the areas they were in. Dog training facility on Downfall Road and the driving range on Scotland Road. She proclaimed that permits blank, which raised a few eyebrows at the conference table. As all this was unfolding, I was puzzled. Ms. Rector's opinion and questions were allowed to be heard at this particular time. I was disappointed with her disregard for the integrity of the planning board. The appearance of her jeopardizing the sanctity of the open meeting law. During the hearing, she did ask questions, but after the meeting adjourned, she began a new barrage of questions and biased opinions for all in the room to hear. A combined meeting of the planning board, Board of Selectmen, zoning board was suggested as a means of concerns. All this in the Board of Selectmen did not see an ethics violation. In retrospect, this deliberation Ms. Greco initiated and dwelled on for 15 minutes in her proclaimed disapproval of the special permit process that the town employs. As a member of the Board of Selectmen, a biased opinion should not be allowed to be involved in any special permit hearings and decisions brought before the town. Her actions left me believing that anyone presenting an application for a special permit in Newbury had a strike against them before the process begins. The planning board did address Mr. Moran's letter and came to the conclusion, but as the town's governing body, the Board of Selectmen chose to dismiss the letters addressing an impropriety by a Board of Selectmen member, whether she spoken as a butter or a selectman, Tony A.J. Matthews Jr. I conducted interviews. I interviewed Peter Pecos, the chair of the planning board. I interviewed Martha Taylor, the town planner. Larry Murphy, who was a planning board member. All of these interviews here. I asked everyone the Same question. My interview with town planner Martha Taylor was on February 14th, 2020. My interview with planning board chair Peter Pecos was February 18th by phone, 2020. Interview with planning board member Larry Murphy, February 19th, 2020, around 6:45 p.m. First question I posed, conversation last after a meeting adjournment. Martha Taylor commented about 10 minutes or less. Peter Pecos commented about 5 minutes or so. Larry Murphy, his comment was, I would say approximately 10 minutes, definitely not more than 15. People were gathering their coats and things, and it's tough to recall an exact length of time after the fact since nothing glaring at the time stuck out about it. My next question. Selectwoman Greco approached the table during this time, or did she remain in the audience seats? Martha Taylor replied she remained in the audience seats. Pecos replied, Alicia stayed in her seat. Murphy responded that she stayed in the audience seating. My next question, did Selectwoman Greco specifically ask about the Borrego Solar Array golf facility or the dog facility after adjournment? Taylor commented, no, not to my recollection. She spoke more to the process of special permits in general and why we need them. She mentioned that she felt the special permit process has been problematic. Peter Pecos responded, I don't believe so. It was a vague discussion about special permit policy. He mentioned that the special permit process can be contentious. Murphy's reply was no. It was more general policy discussion. She questioned why we need special permits and mentioned the process has been tough for the community at times. The next question to the three was, do you feel the conversation was substantial? Taylor replied, I do not think it rose to the level of substantial discussion. Pecos replied, no. Larry Murphy replied, no, I don't feel like Selectwoman Greco did anything terrible. The next question I posed was a meeting of the planning board, ZBA, and Board of Selectmen suggested. Martha said, yes, by me. Peter responded, yes. Larry Murphy responded, yes. The next question, how was this suggestion received? Responded that it was well received, no argument or rebuttal. Stated that it was well received and it would be a good policy to meet. Larry Murphy responded she was receptive, no argument. Last question to the three, would it feel like Selectwoman Greco was forcing her will? I responded, I didn't feel she was forcing her will. At the suggestion of the board's meeting, she was open to it. Responded, no, it was just a conversation. She was not pushy. Larry Murphy responded, well, there probably could have been a better approach. It was not overly imposing. That concludes my questions to three witnesses that were in the room at the time. So I would open up to what I would entertain a motion, entertain any questions or comments. I'm not looking to revisit any issues from the past unrelated to this. So any more comments, but we should probably start this way. And then we'll get into conversation that way. Jerry.
Did you interview Tony Matthews?
I did not.
Did you interview Jim Moran?
I did not.
Did you interview Leslie Matthews?
She wasn't mentioned. I did not.
Okay.
I didn't interview any of the other planning board members either. It seemed that three were sufficient.
Okay. Why those three?
I bounced it off of town council, and I figured that those three have the experience and knowledge of the rules, being the chair, the town planner, And Larry Murphy has much municipal experience. I felt that they were the best suited to answer questions about the ins and outs of open meeting law and in fact of what is, what isn't a violation. Nothing in our select board code of conduct meant interviewing members of the public in this, where, you know, since it was based on somebody else's letter, select board member.
Well, you were acting as the
In consultation with town council.
were acting as the
A
investigator.
selectman board. Jerry, please let me finish. You'll have a chance to speak. That's how this works. In consultation with town council, this was done properly. The people were qualified to answer the questions. I look for the most qualified people in the room, the most familiar with municipal law, rules, and ethics law.
In your position, you were acting as an investigator. So you were there to obtain the facts, not to
Correct.
get a legal opinion. So I guess my concern is that you didn't talk to the people who had actually written letters who said that they heard this. So I'm concerned with the quality of your investigation, that's all. Because, you know, if you were a police officer, I think you might be fired for not getting all of the witnesses.
The protocol for the selectmen's code of conduct was followed. The chair conducts the investigation.
Yeah, forget all the facts. Okay. Point taken.
No, the three witnesses were in the room. Their statements.
Okay.
Do you feel the witnesses are not credible? I mean, I don't know what you.
I don't know, because you were the fact finder. It was up to you to determine who was credible, who wasn't credible. That's why when you have a court of law, you get witnesses that you summon people to take, you know, come in and tell you what happened. I just don't see that. Yeah. That's the job for the Ethics Commission to independently pursue this or not. That's all I have.
Any comments from the rest of the board?
Once again, Lisa Mead, if she showed the same intent that she did with me, she should have done the investigation, okay, because she did mine, okay? She did a lot of mine. The town was, I think,
Mike, I can explain to you
Let me-
just the reason why she did this.
Let me finish, please. The town spent between $7,000 and $9,000 investigating me. So I expect the same courtesy when an investigation's on one of the other selectmen, period. What's good for
Council was-
Doyle is good for the others.
Okay, can I respond?
Sure.
Council was brought in on that particular matter because I was present for one of the incidents in question, and I did not want it to appear biased or swayed. So that council was brought in. That's just like how a complaint against the chair would be handled by the vice chair. It's the way our policy reads. Council was brought in because I was present for one of the incidents in question in your case, and I didn't want anything to appear slanted. So I went right for the outside view, where in Alicia's instance, there's no criminal behavior apparent. There didn't seem to be any abusive behavior apparent. And we had people in the room that night to interview. Like I said, the code of conduct was followed. What good, bad, or indifferent, that's how our code of conduct is written, and that's how it was followed.
Like I've said before, I will forward everything to the Ethics Commission, and I'll let them make the final decision.
Jeff or Alicia, would you like to make any comments? No? Jeff?
I don't have a comment. I am a little bit confused if, you know, understanding what Mike wants to do just to send this along to the Ethics Commission, it kind of makes what we're doing in the code of ethics almost redundant in some respects.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, Cherry was probably right when she started in the beginning there. We probably ought to look at, you know, maybe in the beginning it worked when we were, but if we're gonna just bypass and go outside it anyway, I mean, maybe we should get rid of the code of ethics.
The notion of the code of ethics, and you know, we don't want to get into the weeds too bit because we have a matter in hand here we need to rule on. The notion of the code of ethics was, here again, transparency. People clamor for transparency. They don't want things covered up. When things go to the Ethics Commission doesn't even necessarily respond to the community it happens. And basically it goes to the Ethics Commission and it dies there. And it does exist on the record eventually a year down the road on the internet. It can be dug up and all the names have been redacted, even by the offenders it's been redacted. But just to the Ethics Commission, actually what's going on. This daylights, this kills mold. It shines a light on bad behavior if it doesn't. So that's why I think it's important. And also, when allegations come about like this, maybe it's a positive for the defendant to be able to say their piece and defend themselves. So speaking as to whether the process is perfect or not, do I enjoy holding these hearings about issues like this? Absolutely not. No chairman should have to deal with nonsense like this. And I mean, I agree with Jerry on that. It's, you know, it's legit and some of it's just petty revenge. And
That's what it was with me.
if the town or the Board of Selectmen going forward, if we want to revisit the process and we want to go back to the old days where things just happened and nobody knew and money got spent.
No, we're not saying that at all. No, you always bring that up.
This is,
Nobody knew.
this is transparency at work. It's not always pretty. It's not always enjoyable, but right now it's the way we operate and we can't look away from it. We can't knock something off the table and we
Not trying to.
can't make someone look dirty and then throw it away, you know, without giving them a chance to defend themselves. So
Now, what are we looking for?
we need a motion.
A motion for what?
Well, you tell me. It's a motion of, do you put it to the Ethics Commission? Do a written reprimand? Do you dismiss it? These are all listed in our code of conduct.
I make a motion that we censure for now.
Censure for what?
Censure for
Censure for
what
what?
I still consider is an open meeting violation. Period. But you know something?
But
Well,
I can't be in a violation of, I'm
right,
not
then
with my board.
Alicia,
I don't think you understand the law.
Mike, Alicia's correct. There was no other select board member there.
All
So
right, so-
not an open meeting law
I
violation.
mean, if
I'll let-
anybody
I'll
was
let
in
the-
violation of the open meeting law, it would be the planning board. It'd be the ethics commission. If you send it to the ethics commission will rule on that for the planning board.
Why, I have a question, Alicia. I was told, because I wasn't there in the room where it happened.
So why are you alleging something that you weren't there for?
Because
I mean, you
what
didn't
I
even
read-
witness this.
What I read in that letter, I didn't like the sound of.
Does it make it true because you read it in the paper? Is everything you read on the
it was-
internet true? Like, if you did your homework, you'd know that that special
it
permit
was-
was granted back in 2018.
It was written, the letter was written by somebody
It's all lies.
I have faith in, who doesn't lie, okay, period. So I disagree with you there. We've already gone that.
Now you know how much faith you can have in this person because that special permit was granted in 2018.
I don't know.
He didn't know his facts either.
I'm still not convinced that he lied. I don't think he
Okay.
did. Because
I
you know
would
something?
move.
The investigation was not done properly.
I would move to send this to the Ethics Commission.
I second that.
Okay, any other discussion?
And it just avoids the whole Board of Selectmen, let them handle it, independent, you know, just.
Okay, there's a second. Any other discussion on that motion before we take a vote on Jerry's motion to send it to the Ethics Commission? Roll call vote. Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes,
Jeff Walker,
No.
J.R. Colby, no. So this is a good question. Now we have a break, right? Alicia, I believe you can cast a vote in this.
That would be a conflict of interest.
Would
Yeah.
it though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I have a conflict of interest since you did the investigation. How can you vote?
That's what our code of
Yeah.
conduct says. I have better things to do than deal with petty
Right,
BS.
that's why Lisa Mead should have done it. That's why the town council should have done it. Period.
It's not a criminal matter and no members of the board.
Not something, let her make the decisions. That's what we pay the dollars for. You're not a lawyer.
But I am in charge of the investigation, Mike. That's what the policy says.
Well, I don't, like I said. I
You
didn't think
voted the
did-
policy.
I didn't think you did a good job then. I told you that. That's why I wanted it not dealt with tonight. It wasn't investigated properly. Period.
What would-
If Mike's gonna pass this along anyway, I would like to make a motion to just enter the conversation we've had tonight into record and close it. I don't know if that's possible.
Is there a second? Is that a motion to dismiss or is it a motion to
Table?
table or censure?
Either dismiss the table, table's fine, dismiss is fine too, because it's
Okay.
going to be, I guess it's gonna go beyond us anyway.
I would, I second the motion to dismiss. I see nothing of any substance here whatsoever after conducting the investigation. I see nothing. With no other select board member in the room, it would have been impossible for Selectwoman Greco to violate the open meeting law, period. I would move to dismiss. So let's try a roll call vote on that one. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
No.
Michael Doyle,
No.
Alicia Greco.
Yes.
You can't vote.
She can't vote.
You can't vote.
I don't know that that's stated in the code of conduct.
It personally affects her.
The person, really. It's like, let's have a kangaroo court.
Okay.
I would move to table.
Yes, to the motion to dismiss.
I would move to table.
Table.
Isn't that what Jeff tried to do?
Any
No, he
table
just-
to dismiss.
So we'll table it and revisit it?
Sure.
Okay, just table it.
That's like dismissing it, or is that? keep-
We can
Jerry?
table.
No, I just want clarification. Is your intent to dismiss or to keep it going? Because if we table it, it would,
A
Take it
motion
up.
to table is always in order, and I believe it's non-debatable. So it sits on the table until a further time, or it could be revisited, but it avoids the problem.
I agree with
avoid
Jerry.
problems or to solve them.
No, it can, the table, they can table it, and then Mike's gonna send it to ethics, and then the ethics will make a ruling, and I won't be found guilty because I didn't do anything, and then we'll just move on.
Neither did I.
Okay, I will
Okay,
second, I will second
It's
Jerry's motion.
non-debatable.
Is
I said it's non-debatable. Motion to table is non-debatable. So I call the motion.
Okay, I second Jerry's motion to table. We'll go through the roll call vote. Okay, Jerry's motion to table, Jerry Heavy. Roll-
Yes, table. Yes.
Okay. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
J.R. Colby, yes. Okay, we'll move on. Administrators report.
Thank you, Chairman Colby. Just to give you a brief coronavirus update from the town hall perspective, I think Chief Riley covered most of the salient points, but we do continue to see favorable metrics from reported to us from Mass DPH, and in particular for the town of Newbury. So clearly the efforts to protect the public health have been worth it without a doubt. We are going to be opening the town hall by appointment only beginning on September 8th. Appointments will be conducted in the hearing room up here on the second floor with all the appropriate protocols being followed, masks being required, social distancing, and, you know, everything that we've all come to understand as the appropriate protocols, sanitization, etc. Chief Riley is helping write the out-of-state travel restrictions. We'll get memorandums out to the employees by the end of this week, hopefully. Relative to the CARES Act, the coronavirus team has received a total of $110,000 in grant proceeds to date. So I want to thank Chairman Colby, Chief Riley, and Deb Rogers for all your help and getting all that paperwork submitted. And we're going to continue to seek additional relief, but we are well poised to cover all our expenses currently. Town meeting was successful and we did receive a lot of positive feedback. We're very grateful to Superintendent Forget and his facilities team led by Chris Walsh, and our IT director, Susan Noyes, and our PEG Access Productions coordinator, Ethan Cohen. They did a tremendous job, and naturally we're most grateful to all the residents that came out under the circumstances to conduct all of the town's very important business. We've been notified of our Chapter 90 funds this year. We'll be receiving $269,575. Right now, the DPW is currently engaged in paving of Courtney, Austin, Forest, Pine Island, Seaview, and the Montgomery Park area. With the exception of Morgan Ave, we're not going to do that until after. Prior to paving, prior to paving, the DPW removed or performed maintenance on approximately 60 trees, which is proving that the bucket truck has really been a good investment and a very useful tool for them. On Plum Island, the gate was installed at the Olga Way town-owned parcel, and the pillars haven't been placed at Temple Boulevard, and the materials for the Plum Island bathroom have been purchased. The DPW will work on that project after the paving season ends. By doing it with our own workforce, it will likely take us longer naturally, but we'll do it at a much cheaper cost without having to pay the prevailing wage. We also installed the pillars at the Central Street playing fields in the hopes of keeping vehicles off of the septic system there. Let's see. Oh, siding has begun on the fire station. They're doing that work in between road paving. And let's see, Jennifer Crisco of Byfield is going to be joining our team as the new DPW administrative assistant. And that's the position that was left vacant when Julie assumed the executive administrator role. So she'll be starting the end of August. Council on Aging has notified us, the director, Maggie Malley, that they've received a $5,000 grant to support outreach needs. So that's on a positive note. On a not so positive note, I've been notified of Gail Kehoe's pending retirement effective August 20th, and of Maggie Malley's retirement, which will be effective on September 3rd. So we're going to have some big shoes to fill over at the Council on Aging, as we'll start the process going soon. And the chairman, Chaz Rudick, has asked that he participate in the process. So I'm happy to have him join the team as we look for the next director. If nobody on the board, I know JR, you said you'd be willing to serve as well. So we'll get that going right away, and I'll be talking to HR Board Chairman Mark Gleckman to make sure all the job descriptions are up to date.
Tracy, quick question.
Yep.
Just a quick one. Can a selectman serve on the Council of Aging Committee because somebody didn't go on today? So is that a conflict of interest? I don't know.
I think you have a bylaw that prohibits selectmen from serving.
Dick Joy did, in 2002 through, I think, 2008. He was selectman and he was on the board of Council of Aging. I don't know if you remember, Jeff?
I'll have to look it up, Mike, because I don't remember, I haven't got all the bylaws committed to memory, but I do remember seeing something, but maybe it was Finance Committee or someone, but I thought selectmen were prohibited, but
Okay.
I'll research that and let you
Thank
know
you,
tomorrow.
thank you.
The National Grid work on the green, we have received a complaint. The DPW director, James Surratt, put a call into his contacts there to understand what the purpose was of the cabinet and to see if there were any alternatives for it. It was explained that it is a new safety measure for monitoring pressures. And they offered to paint it green and do some landscaping around it. But we took it to the next level to see if there was someone else so that we could speak with to see if there's any other alternatives to that particular type of cabinet in that particular location. So more to come on that. And I think that's all I've got for you tonight. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
Yep.
Under correspondence, we received a letter from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Comcast Cable Communications. We received a letter from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife regarding the Old Town Hill Salt Marsh Restoration Project. A letter from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries. We received a thank you letter from the Byfield Community Arts Center. Information on the Mass Rural Policy Plan from Taylor. I received a hand-delivered copy of a Council on Aging report. We received one at the office. Hopefully the other select board members also received the hand-delivered copies.
I did.
I plan on putting Council on Aging discussion on the agenda for August. So anyone that's interested in that can tune in. We received a letter from Xfinity regarding package information. Another letter from Xfinity regarding programming changes. A letter from Susan Becker regarding nuisance roosters. Received a letter from Bill DeMayo regarding citizens petitions added to the annual town meeting warrant. Received an email from Mark Luckman regarding the HR goal setting. We received correspondence from Jonathan Higgins regarding his Upper Green 2020 season. Do we have any meeting updates? Anyone have any?
Saturday, like I said, Saturday we had, I think, 10 people at the Citizens Concerns. We had a solid hour of conversation about everything from Mile and bathrooms, police station, town hall, senior citizen needs, 40B housing. It was really good talk. I would like to present the board a report that came, that I want to make from it for the next meeting, because I just didn't have the time to spread everything out with questions and things. That I think that's the only way right now we can have citizens' concerns. It's a good way to do it. Okay, so there were 19 people. It was just somebody just told me. So that was good. That's a good turnout for a Saturday morning.
You think for citizens' concerns that for now it's a good enough mechanism?
Well, I said that, and if somebody wants to talk about it with the selectmen directly, not just one.
Correct.
If they go on the agenda and do it that way, I said, right now I have no problem until we all get together as a gang again.
Okay.
So Mike, could you please, like you said, I think you're gonna summarize everything that was stated. If you could put down who attended and
watch the hour on TV, can't you? It was recorded.
I don't think we put those on TV.
Are we broadcasting those? I don't even know. I
thought it was recorded because when I chimed in, it said this meeting's being recorded.
Yeah, I haven't done.
Oh, it might be recorded, but I don't know if we put them up on TV. Let's have that discussion. Do we want to put them on TV?
I think it's a good idea. I thought it was.
I'm indifferent. Doesn't matter. I like clarity and daylight. That's what I like. Transparency.
Doesn't matter to me at all if they're
Okay.
Fine.
One of my
Jerry, what do you think?
Yeah, it should be, sure.
It should
One
what?
of the techniques,
I
one of the
say, yeah, put it on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, we should ask them
So-
to upload it.
That's
one
it.
of the tech people says it's on the website right now. It just says not been uploaded to YouTube. I don't, that's what I got.
Mr. Cole,
I don't know. That's what somebody just sent me a text saying it's on the website. So I don't know. I haven't. All I'm relying on is the general public out there telling me some information.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know if that's a link or just a notice of the event.
Right.
I'm not sure of.
Mr. Colby,
All right.
question for
Yes,
you.
Jerry.
I was asked, why is the discussion on the senior center put on till August? Because we all
To get-
got it plenty of time.
Basically, I don't like to knee jerk into anything. That gives people to gather their thoughts, reach out to people, gather some opinions, from all of us, from our constituents, and we can come back and have a productive discussion. We could get into a discussion now that gets tabled to a later date. We won't have many answers, but I think giving notice that the discussion's going to happen, giving our constituents a chance to reach out to us and kind of gather our thoughts, and we can all come in prepared and have a productive discussion, because I'm not looking to put this off. I'm looking to have productive meetings. And
No, I just thank you. I thank you for your answer. I figured it was because you
Yeah, there's-
wanted more time. Yeah.
right, there's a method to the madness. I found having a little lead time sometimes, it helps people gather the facts, and we actually accomplish things rather than just kind of kicking it around the table till the next meeting. In August, we'll have time before the August meeting. We can all reach out to people and have these discussions, and then we can come back, and if there are questions to ask any town staff, there's time to do that. And it seems to make for a good process.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I also, there was a letter that came into the town via internet that I'd like to read from Comcast. It's about school accounts for low-income
Go ahead.
residents. As we approach the start, this is from Jay Summers at Comcast. It's for a program called Internet Essentials. And Internet Essentials from Comcast is a program designed to expand broadband adoption among low-income American households with at least one child eligible to receive free or reduced price school lunches. Once in the program, participants receive fast, affordable internet service for $9.95 a month plus tax, the option to purchase a computer for just $150, and access to free digital literacy training. To learn more or to apply, please call 1-855-8-INTERNET, INTERNET, or 1-855-846-8376, or visit internetessentials.com. So the letter says, as we approach the start of what is sure to be a challenging new school year, I want to remind you that Comcast will continue to offer 2 free months of internet service to new Internet Essentials customers through December 31st, 2020. We remain committed to keeping low-income families connected to schools and other educational resources. If you are aware of any community partners that would benefit from learning more about this program, please contact me using the information below. So again, it's Jay Summers, the Senior Manager of Government and Regulatory Affairs at Comcast, and he can be reached at 603-334-3603. His mobile is 617-279-7675 for anyone who's interested in that program.
Thank you, Alicia.
You're welcome.
We have meeting minutes, Golf Center public hearing minutes tabled from 6/9/2020. Board of Selectmen meeting,
Mr.
October
Chair,
3rd, 2018.
before you leave that and get into the minutes, can I just grab you for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Just a quick mention on Fish and Wildlife land. I'm sure everyone read it, but it might be good for the public to know that was endangered species area for the eastern whippoorwill. And they are making certain disturbances there. But the MESA studies on endangered species has decided that it has an exemption and doesn't trigger any habitat destruction. So that's kind of significant because it is Newbury. And the only other thing I'm a little lost on is Jonathan asking us to use the pond again, and do we need a motion? And he is talking a little bit about electricity if it's possible, because he has a new grant, and I don't know if I read that right. What did everyone else read?
I think he needed electricity so he could do his work, and I think.
Do you think he's
So I would-
asking, Mike, is he asking to use it again for 2020? Because we'll have to make a motion for him to use it.
If he, and I would have no problem with, he's done a lot of good work for us, basically, and it's helped his business, I know, but.
Well, he has a grant now, and I feel exactly the same way. I've known him for a long time, but did anyone else read it in the fashion that it needs a vote from us to be able to go back?
Yes, I just might not recall, so forgive me. I don't recall renewing him year by year. I just think he's been giving us reports until our problem's under control, but I mean, I have no problem with giving a thumbs up on summer 2020.
Well, if no one has a problem with it, I would make a motion if Jonathan, does receive the grant and would like to use the pond again. He's isolated the fact that it is the geese, and so anything he can do in there is certainly going to help our problem. So I would make a motion if
I will
he
second-
choose.
I'll second that motion.
Thanks, Michael.
What is
Okay.
the motion? What is the motion that you're making?
To allow him to use the pond again for his research. He has a grant like he did for the last 3 years
Yes, okay.
in 2020.
Okay, I'll move to a roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes,
and J.R. Colby, yes.
Thank you.
He also mentioned in his letter that he'd be more than happy to speak. Do we want to ask him to give us an update at a meeting when he knows more about the grant, maybe?
he was in he was in one of, I think, December meetings. It was like just before we broke up and started doing Zoom. So I don't think it was that long ago, but we can always ask him if he
Well, I'm
has.
thinking after he gets his grant and
Right,
has
after,
something to
okay,
say.
fine. Tell, yeah.
All right, thanks again, JR.
Yeah, we have meeting minutes to approve. Golf Center public hearing minutes tabled from 6/9/2020. The minutes of October 3rd, 2018, September 11th, 2018, August 29th, 2018, August 14th, 2018, 26th, 2018, June 20th, 2018, June 9th, 2020.
Make a motion
Mr. Chairman,
as read.
I can't vote on the 2018s. I wasn't on the board.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I made a motion to accept as read.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Now I'm in a quandary. I wasn't on the board.
Yeah, she shouldn't
I
vote.
mean,
I shouldn't
Yeah.
vote, so I'll
Okay.
abstain.
I think
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
abstain.
3 of us can vote
okay.
on the
So you're
minutes.
still in, right, Alicia?
I'm still voting yes.
Okay, and J.R. Colby, yes. So,
I can approve the June 9th meetings, though. I was there for the June 9th. The other-
okay, June 9th, 2020.
Yeah, but you're recused from these, so I don't
No,
know if you can.
I'm recused from the 18. The one I was at, I can approve the minutes.
No, not you, JR. JR recuses himself from
Oh.
he's recused from that project.
Well, I'm not, yeah, but we're just approving meeting minutes. It's not, I mean, I'll recuse from it if it makes you more comfortable.
Okay,
I mean, I wasn't there back in
So
8.
that's why, I
can't
didn't
even-
vote on the 18. I wasn't there. So why
Yeah.
would I vote on something I wasn't there?
But you voted on Mike, you voted on the rest, right?
June 9th, there's only one, wasn't there?
You voted on the rest.
Vote on the June 9th one.
Yep.
I was at them all, so I vote yes.
I was too.
Oh, Julie kept that straight, Julie, didn't you?
Okay, roll call vote to approve the minutes. I'm going to recuse. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jeff Walker, Michael Doyle,
Yes, for June 9th only.
Jerry Heavy.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. So let's sum it up here, we had 3 on the 8, did we have 3 on the 18s? Because Mike wasn't here, Jerry wasn't here. I'm recusing, so we only have Jeff and Alicia to approve the meeting.
That's all we can approve. That's all we can vote. That's all we can do.
Okay.
May I just ask, why is it taking so long to approve these?
If, as you see, some of these, especially with that matter, the golf center hearings have gone on for hours and hours and hours at a whack. It takes a tremendous amount of time to transcribe and issue the meeting minutes. So it's been a work in progress for a long time. All the meeting minutes are getting caught up slowly but surely, and we
tabled these from June.
correct until it was complete. But it's a mountain of work to transcribe these into paper. That's basically it in a nutshell. And we are gaining ground, and it's getting done. But it's been a work in process. Julie's been working her butt off, to pick up where Ellen left off. I used to watch Ellen with her stenographer's pen and the headphones and the notes. I don't know how she ever kept it all straight. It really, it is not easy work. I'd rather be out in this. But anyway, that's,
Thank you for the information.
yeah, we're catching up on it slowly but surely, and there's still a little work to do. So, okay, moving on. We have warrants tonight. Is there a motion to sign warrants?
Move to sign warrants.
A second.
Okay, roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle.
Yes.
Okay, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, Tracy.
Can I just ask for a motion to allow the chairman to sign the warrants?
Oh, motion made to allow Chairman Colby sign the warrant.
Second.
Roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to
Motion
adjourn.
made to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Tracy,
Roll-
thank you for the information on the cabinet. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle.
Yes.
All right, and J.R. Colby, yes. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Good
Aye.
night.